And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of Blasphemy. So John has an experience here, similar to the experience that Daniel had, where he sees a beast coming up out of the water, out of the sea. And this beast appears very much the way that the dragon does in the previous chapter, in Revelation chapter 12. The dragon with its heads and horns and crowns. So this beast, though, as we'll see, it is not the dragon. It bears a great resemblance to the dragon and acts after a similar fashion. This is a evil entity that is Antichrist compared to God's Christ. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. This beast that John sees bears a resemblance to the different beasts that Daniel sees in chapter 7 of the book of Daniel, where Daniel sees these great kingdoms that rule over that part of the world. He sees them portrayed as these very frightening and evil beasts. And in Daniel's vision, there's a lion, there's a bear, there's a leopard, and John here sees these beasts kind of rolled up into one. It's like one beast embodying the anti-God, anti-Christ worldly power. And who gives this beast its power? The dragon, the devil, gives the beast its power. The devil likes to tempt people with power, like he tries to tempt Jesus with power, with all the kingdoms of the world. And some people say, okay, I'll take it. But as we see from reading the entirety of the book of Revelation, the dragon is a usurper, and it tries to have power over the world. It tries to use this beast to build a kingdom in opposition to Jesus, but it fails, because this power and seat and great authority cannot stand and has no power against the true ruler of the world. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. There are certainly parts in the Bible where it sounds like there is a man who embodies this Antichrist power, and though John in this revelation never refers to the beast as being a man, it does sound like there could be a human manifestation of this beast that is able to receive a deadly wound and then recover from it, which brings it the wonder and worship of the world. Of course, all of those empires that Daniel sees in chapter 7, they are ruled by people. So though I think these beasts and this beast mentioned here, these are non-human entities that oppose the will of God and oppose the kingdom of God, there is also certainly a human element to them, both in the people that make up these kingdoms and even in their rulers. In Daniel chapter 7, we see the beast representing Babylon being given a man's heart, which kind of sounds like Nebuchadnezzar's conversion, which we read about in Daniel chapter 4. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? This is so typical of empires. They appear so mighty to people, these beasts, with their seemingly miraculous power. They are empowered by the devil, but they deceive people, and people wonder after them, and people worship them, and people lay aside the commandments and the simplicity and the humility and the love of the teachings of Jesus as they wander after these beasts. And they say, look at this beast, who can resist it? We may as well follow it. And this is in contrast to the saints who overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, because they do not value their own lives above the kingdom of God, and they are willing to suffer and die for the sake of Jesus and their love for God and for their neighbors. That is how the saints overcome. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And what does this beast use its influence for? Is to blaspheme. It speaks against and persuades against God, persuades against the ways of Jesus. It teaches might and lust and rebellion, the pride of life, the glory and benefit of selfishness. And it's allowed to continue for this 42 months. Now this is a period of time that recurs throughout the book of Revelation, and I think it's first mentioned more than once in the book of Daniel. So there's something about This kind of period, 42 months, 3.5 years, 1,260 days, this is a kind of time period that apparently is allowed at times where the saints can be persecuted and evil can run amok before God brings about an intervention to stop this kind of thing. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. Some specifics on the kind of blasphemy that this beast speaks. There's no doubt here about the goal of this beast and the dragon that gives it power. It is to tear down people's belief in God. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. God doesn't always give the saints the victory right away. There are many times when they have to flee or when they are martyred for their faith. Even Jesus himself was overcome by Antichrist force. He was betrayed, arrested, and killed by his enemies because these evil forces that rule the world, they have a certain amount of power for a certain amount of time. They are allowed to make these kinds of terrible decisions, and if people will follow them, they can certainly do some damage. And the innocent suffer, the saints suffer. The good suffer, the just suffer at the hands of these forces that stand up against Christ and stand up against his message. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. There's a real divide here. There's those who belong to the Lamb, who have everlasting life, whose names are written in the book of life, and there are those who go against him. And those who go against the Lamb, go against the teachings of Jesus, go against the kingdom of God, they worship this beast, who is the opposite of everything that Jesus stands for. This Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. The suffering of the Lamb is part of its identity and is part of what the world was founded for. So the dominion and rulership and lordship of the Lamb can never really be challenged. But the people imagine vain things, and they go after vain things, and they rebel. And there are these periods of suffering, these periods of wrongdoing, and there are times when those who try to do the right thing suffer, they flee, they die. But this is part of the testimony of the world, and like that Lamb slain from the foundation of the world, the suffering of the saints brings many to righteousness, and the rebellion of Antichrist can never overcome Jesus Christ, the Anointed One of God. If any man have an ear, let him hear. These words repeated many times throughout this book of Revelation, the messages to the churches, the messages to everyone who reads this revelation. If you're hearing this, if you can hear this, make sure you're hearing it, because this is important. Well, thanks for watching. Please be sure to leave your comment below. Tell me what you think about all this. Tell me what you think about what John is describing here in this description of this beast. How does this relate to the prophecies of Daniel? And how do you understand this with your understanding of Christianity and the times we live in? I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll talk to you again later. Bye for now.